Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's tech tip. So today we're going to talk about how we can modify the secondary layer of our panel. So as you can see here in this panel, for example, I do have my main structural layer that it was generated using light gauge elements. But I also have this secondary layer here that we see that is wood. So this was created with my default light gauge template for the main structural layer. And for my secondary layer, I use the default secondary template for wood. So as you can see here in my template map, for my structural layer, I have assigned my light gauge template. And for my substrate, I assigned the wood template, which is located here. In my secondary templates, wood. So as you can see, if you are using Pro Suite, you're gonna see light gauge and wood. If you are in Pro Wood, you're only gonna see wood. And if you are only in Pro Metal or Advanced Metal, you're gonna see the light gauge one. So you can always just copy, duplicate, and create new ones. For this example, just to be very simple, I'm just using the default one, but you can always go in the default and modify it. So this is what we have for our secondary layer. We're gonna have bottom tracks. We do have to assign a specific marker only for my secondary template, for my secondary layer. That you're gonna see that in the panel, it also considers my openings. And I also have some horizontals here. So that is pretty much it. And this is what it would look like once you generate your panels. So what we want to do today, it's not modify the main structural layer, but make small modifications to my secondary layer. So for my wood elements. So I'm just gonna jump in my section view. And just like we have the option to do some manual modifications for the main structural layer, we're gonna have the same option for this secondary layer here as well. However, you have to keep in mind that you have to use the options under operations. So that's the first thing that it's very important to remember. We're not going to be using anymore anything that is here under edits. So all of this, the move generated, edits one, delete generated member, and so on, all of that can be applied to the structural layer, so the main one. But for the secondary layer, you have to use the options under operations. Okay? So for example, let's say I've selected this horizontal element here, or actually, let's say if I select this guy, and let's say that I don't want this element. I do want to delete that from my panel. So I can just come here to operations and delete member. So it's going to ask me, it's going to be a little bit different than the main options under edits. It's going to ask me, as you can see at my bottom left, to select the member that I want to delete. So I'm going to click here again. And that's it. So it's just going to delete my blocking. I can do the same for any other one. Then let's do the same for this one. So I'm going to go back here to operations. Let me just uncheck that. So delete member. I will select this guy and then it will be gone. The other thing that we can do is move. So for example, if I want to move this element here a little bit, I can come here to move member, but it's good. You're gonna see that it's a little bit different than the option under edits. As you can see on my bottom left, it's asking me to select the member that I want to move. So we're gonna select this guy. And now you're gonna take a reference, select a reference on that specific member. So let's say this point here. And now what you're going to have to do is click exactly where you want to move the member to. So in that case, you may want to use, maybe create a model line or a reference plane before, because then you have a specific reference that you can click. If not, just like me, if you click anywhere, this is where the member will be um, moved. So if I select here, for example, it would just move the member exactly where I clicked. Taking it into account that the reference plane that I've selected before is the bottom here of my member, so that's why it's aligning the bottom of my horizontal to the point that I've selected. So that's pretty much how it would work. Again, if you want a very specific location, just make sure to maybe create a model line or a reference plane so you can have that reference to click before moving the member. So the other option that we have is to, again, just manually copy and paste a new element. So let's say, for example, if I select this horizontal here and I'm just copying and pasting the same element. Again, if I try to regenerate this panel, this element will disappear. I didn't add that to my panel just yet. So what we want to do is more or less what we would do with add structural member under edits. We want to add that element to my panel. So this time I'm going to come here to add member. Again, at my bottom left, it's gonna be asking you to select the member to associate. It's going to be this one. And now it's going to ask me to select any member of my panel. So let's just select any member. And you're gonna have to select the tag that you want to add. In this case, it will be a horizontal, and I'm gonna click OK. So now if I go ahead and regenerate this panel, the horizontal that we've just added will be still in the panel. It's now part of my panel. And even after regeneration, it will remain in my panel. Okay, so that is it for today's tech tip. I hope you guys enjoyed it and see you guys next week.